want to show you some progress I made on the Mandalorian, and I got in a bad habit of coming down here and working on this thing and completely forgetting to set up the camera and recording. So I'll show you. I decided to modify the chest armor, and I'll put up a picture of what I did here. And what I did was I cut some strips of the styrene plastic and shaped it in the, as close as I could get it, shaped it in the shape of the new armor. And then I used the putty to fill in and build up the armor, especially towards the bottom. And then as you go to the top, I did it thinner. So I filled in all this in with the putty and let it dry overnight. So now I'm going to sand it down some. I'm going to start out with sandpaper and smooth it out and see what it looks like and see if there's any dips or holes that need to be filled in. And we'll go from there. Now, as far as this bottom part, I'm not sure what I'm going to do here yet. I might put some strips in here and maybe fill it in a little bit. I don't know. Or I might just leave it alone. So, and then around the his center plate here, might build that up a little bit too. I don't know yet. So we'll just see how this turns out. We're going to sand it down a little bit and see what it looks like. I got it pretty smoothed out pretty good. When I laid it down, it was kind of rough looking. But as it dried, it laid down pretty good and pretty smooth. So I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I'm just going to use this sanding film here and then just start sanding and smoothing. And then later on I'll get my little grinder thing out and grind out some of these tips that are sticking out. But first I just want to get this smoothed out and see how much work we need to do. Not too bad. It's pretty smooth. Got some lines here. I'm going to sand it down further and smooth out those lines. Okay, starting to look a little better now. I'm going to maybe grind on the edges here and try to clean up the edges a little bit. And hopefully don't mess it up. I want to cut these sides down because they're supposed to they're not supposed to be flush with this chest armor. They're supposed to be kind of like down below it. So maybe cut some of that off. And then I want to try to bevel the edges of this lower part of the armor. Just be real careful and make sure you don't like cut into the arm or anything. Okay, I did some more work to this figure, and I added more putty to the chest armor, built this up some more. I re-sculpted the sides here because I wasn't happy with how they came out. I mean, they look good, but it wasn't very screen accurate. So I re-sculpted the sides and added more putty. And then the center plate, I put a frame around the center plate, but it wasn't. The new Beskar armor it's not oval shaped; it's like straight. So been kind of building up around that, so it's time to sand this down some more. And also the center down here, I filled it in with some putty and sanded it down. So it's time to sand this down, make it smooth again, and see how it looks. Okay, so I got it sanded down and smoothed out some more. So still got a little work to do, a little more filling in, I think, again. And still got to do some detail work on this center piece. So overall, looks pretty good. Still got to do some more scribing on this lower area over here. And yeah, not too bad, I don't guess. Okay, so I've added another layer of putty onto the chest armor, and I'm slowly but surely closing this in to where it looks like it is on the show, hopefully. So I'm going to have to sand this down again and smooth it out, and then probably apply another layer until I get the right shape around that centerpiece there. The bottom down here I'm pretty happy with. The sides I still want to do a little work over here on the side armor. But getting closer. I'm not sure. I might leave this gap down here below. It's kind of like a beveled edge on the armor, so I might just leave that like that, just to give it more definition, and the change in where this is built up higher and this is lower. So just to kind of give it a more three-dimensional look. So now I'm going to sand this down again and smooth it out. Okay, I washed the figure and I'm ready to apply the chrome paint, and what I'm going to use is this liquid chrome paint that I used on the shoulder armor. So we're going to see how this turns out. Now this has a pretty big tip on it, so I've got a little detail brush that I'm going to use to go around and do the details on it. So first we're going to lay down some of this, and then we'll go back over it and use the brush to kind of get into some of the little grooves that this tip won't get into. What I like to do is just make little circles, and then this stuff is it lays down pretty pretty good, so I just put in little circles, and then it lays down fairly well, so it doesn't leave any marks or anything. Now getting inside of here is going to be a problem because my tip is too big, so I'm going to come back and hit that with a brush later. Alright, so there's the chest armor so far. Let me know down in the comments what do you think. This is really reflective, really bright chrome, so I might end up doing a black wash over it just to kind of tone it down a little bit, but we'll see when we're done how it turns out. I'm going to go over where I've been sanding on it and stuff and handling it so much. Some of this is dulled up and actually been sanded off, so I'm going to go over this shoulder armor again.